just to cheer us all up, it's been a long week. I don't know how you felt. Let's have a little look at this comedy. This is a great comedy skit. Just brace yourself. I think the actor playing the minister is a bit hammy. I just think it's a bit over the top. I think maybe if she toned it down, it'd be more realistic. It's just heavy-handed satire. Let's have a look.
Have you spoken to the Prime Minister recently in the last 24 hours?
Why? Why are you asking me that question?
I'd like to know.
We've communicated.
I'm really confused. Is that a difficult question? I'm just asking if you've spoken to the Prime Minister in the last 24 hours.
We have communicated.
Okay. What has he communicated to you?
Well, I'm not going to tell you the extent of my communications with the Prime Minister. I mean, I've answered your question. We have communicated. What is your next question?
What's his mood?
I'd say his mood was very positive, extremely positive. I mean, onwards is one of his favourite expressions. I think he's very positive.
Has he changed?
Changed what?
His attitude.
To what?
To the way he runs the government. We're told that he sent out messages saying that, I remember the quote, him saying in the Commons, "I've got it, I get this," about things that have been done wrong. And the implication was that he was going to do business slightly differently. Indeed, he sent a letter to backbench MPs saying there's going to be more interaction. So my question is a pretty fundamental one, which is the impression we're supposed to take now that Boris Johnson admits that things should have been done differently, and I think that's his words, and I'm not trying to change any meanings around that. The implication of that is somehow a different Boris Johnson is emerging. Is he exactly the same in your book?
So your question was actually very open-ended and non-specific. But what I would say is that the Prime Minister, when he appeared before the 22 committee last week, promised change. And I think anybody who picks up a newspaper or reads a newspaper, sees a television news bulletin can see that a huge amount of change is underway at present, particularly in number 10. MPs want.
It was actually funnier. That's like the 50th time I've watched it. It's still funny. It's just chef's kisses. As I've said, a bit hammy. I think satire needs some subtlety to it, which that is lacking. I don't think anyone can accuse that of I'm sorry. I just need to compose myself. Oh my word. She's the culture secretary. She's a cabinet minister. Like, she actually has a lot of power. I mean, including over the BBC. She's in charge of that whole sector. Culture, media and sport. Oh, I just don't even. I've been on TV a lot with Nadine Dorries. I actually get on well with her personally. But I'm often too nice for my own good, despite the way I'm sometimes portrayed. Just every interview, they keep sending her out. I mean, if they focus grouped it, maybe it's going down well. Maybe I'm completely out of touch. Maybe there are people out there who watch that and think, do you know what? I thought Boris Johnson was a lying snake who has systematically broken the law whilst we were forced to abide by the laws that he was in charge of drawing up and enforcing and communicating. We couldn't hold hands with our dying relatives. We watched them buried on Zoom. We couldn't see our loved ones. 8 million of us live alone and had often crippling moments of loneliness. There were homeless people being charged under lockdown measures. There were children being fined illegally for breaking those lockdown measures. There were park benches being taped up so people couldn't sit on them. There were children's playgrounds which were cordoned off so kids couldn't use them. There were people sitting down having a beer in parks and being told to move by the police, whilst Boris Johnson and his cabal were getting absolutely battered in the Hacienda on Thames. That was number 10. But do you know what? I've just seen Nadine Dorries on national television putting the other side of the story, and I take it all back. They've done nothing wrong. Why won't the media leave them alone? I just don't. I mean, just the times we live in, because we've gone through so much over the last few years, and I think we've become slightly numb. Like, do you remember with Donald Trump? At first, the idea of Donald Trump as president was like, just like we've entered some sort of completely unhinged universe. And the first times he started tweeting, you just were like, I literally cannot believe this happened. They just washed over you because it became so normalized. And I think sometimes that's the danger with this particular administration, this parody. I mean, just this surreal farce, which is technically called Her Majesty's government, is occasionally you just forget how ludicrous things are. It was Lewis Goodall, the BBC, who tried to put it all in context, which was, there's no, just thinking about what's actually happening at the moment, where you've got the director of policy at Number 10 resigning because, supposedly, Mirza, resigning because Boris Johnson used cases of child sex abuse, Jimmy Savile, to score political points, falsely, as it turned out, against Keir Starmer. I say supposedly because Munira Mirza has worked for Boris Johnson for 14 years. And the idea is she suddenly, all of a sudden went, oh, do you know what? I thought Boris Johnson was this top, totally other level guy. It's so out of character that he would just lie for political gain. So that's enough for me. I'm out of here. Boris Johnson, the man who caused a spike in anti-Muslim hate crimes when he called Muslim women bank robbers and letterboxes, and described pickaninnies with watermelon smiles, and talked about gay people as tank top bum boys. Oh, I cannot believe he has behaved like this. I'm out. But, his staff all resigning, his former chief advisor literally on a obsessive mission to destroy him. The guy who actually put him there as prime minister, all by the while he's being investigated by the police, supposedly, because the Metropolitan Police decided not to do anything for several weeks before all of a sudden, at the exact moment where they completely jeopardized and gutted a report into the multiple parties that took place, all of a sudden. But nonetheless, he is being investigated by the police, and there is an official inquiry going on. I mean, it's just so ludicrous. And obviously, we should be angry about the fact that what's undoing this guy is the fact him and his close advisors were getting absolutely smashed in Number 10, while people were often going through the loneliest experiences of their lives during a deadly pandemic which killed 150,000 people. And that's what we should be angry about. The fact tens of thousands of avoidable deaths isn't what's taking this guy down. About the corruption involving PPE contracts, for example. Like, there are so many bigger reasons, actually, as angry as we should be about the fact that it's one rule for those at the top and one rule for everybody else. But honestly, it's just so many details, which makes it hard to compute. But we are ruled by, and this is a really important last point, and I wrote about this in The Guardian, it's really important, however ludicrous this all is. I'm watching that interview. It's just, I mean, you got to laugh. Otherwise, is that he shouldn't be seen as an aberration. Because that's what's going to happen now. All these people he put in there, all these people, Theresa May got up and she, yes, Queen, when she said Boris Johnson, either he didn't understand the rules or didn't think the rules applied to him. Everyone's like, wow, what a burn from Theresa May. Theresa May, also a lying politician who lied about migrants to build her political career, including once claiming that an illegal immigrant couldn't be deported because he had a cat. Not true. That's how she became prime minister, by that kind of vitriolic rhetoric about often completely voiceless people. And then she made Boris Johnson foreign secretary. She made him Britain's face to the world. She helped build up his political career. And now she's like, oh God, Boris Johnson, look how terrible he is. Oh, I never saw that one coming. All these people, these pundits, these MPs who made him prime minister, knowing he's a liar, knowing he's completely unfit, for office, that you wouldn't trust him to, certainly would not trust him to look after my cats. Just a completely on his own terms, ludicrously unfit person for any form of office whatsoever, who's always fallen upwards. Someone sacked twice, for lying. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh my word, Boris Johnson is so terrible. Who could have ever seen that coming? And, you know, going back to 2019, there was a choice. And whatever people think about Jeremy Corbyn and the disagreements or whatever, and he did get things wrong, written about things he got wrong. But honestly, look at what you have inflicted. Look at what all these people trying to wash their hands, they made this happen. And this guy sums up the British establishment. He sums up a British establishment that lies and cheats and thinks rules apply to other people. This is the same British establishment which had politicians milking the expenses system as they pontificated about benefit cheats who need to be locked up. And because they thought state money, you see, they thought they deserved it. Oh, we're politicians, we're not being paid enough, so we'll just take some extra. And, you know, some of them went to prison, not very many. Most of them got some embarrassing headlines and then carried on with their political careers. You know, it's the same with tax avoidance. 23 times more likely, I think, was it 12 or anyway, many more times likely to be prosecuted for benefit fraud than tax fraud, even though tax fraud causes a much bigger loss of money to the state than benefit fraud. You know, because again, it's this idea that the state exists to crack down on people who are powerless rather than the powerful, who don't think the rules apply to them. The same, you know, in America, they locked up quite a lot of bankers. Not so here. Those bankers who plunged the country into calamity, very few consequences. Many of them huge bonuses, making more money than ever. Nothing has happened to them. This is the Metropolitan Police. There we go again. You know, they think they can get away with anything because they have. We did a whole show on it last week. Cressida Dick, who oversaw the operation in which John Charles Menendez was shot repeatedly in the head, innocent man, where the police lied about him over and over again. Like they lied about Ian Tomlinson, who died after being battened by a police officer at a G20 demonstration. And then the police just fed a load of lies saying, oh, he died, he had a heart attack and we tried to save him, but protesters pelted us with bricks and sticks to stop us. Lies. These are powerful people. You know, it's the same again, you know, the war on drugs, politicians take drugs and they've all admitted to it. No consequences for them. Poor black kids, life-changing convictions. You know, what Boris Johnson has done isn't actually that exceptional. It's completely consistent with how the British establishment operate in this country. This is how they operate. They just don't think rules apply to them. They think they apply to the little guys. They think the state should crack down hard on the misdemeanors of the poor. But they think that the establishment should just stuff its pockets full of public money willy-nilly, because of course, whether it be the expenses scandal or whether it be the banks who were bailed out by public money with nothing expected in return after causing ruin from which we are still suffering the consequences of to this very day. So when Boris Johnson designed those rules, looked down the barrel of a camera, told the public solemnly to abide by those rules for the good of the nation, whilst actually in practice going, well, I'm not going to abide by them. You're joking? On my birthday, I'm going to go and get pissed. Well, they all partied. You know, I mean, you know, people say, but on the eve of the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. But, you know, I'm more angry about the fact that you had NHS staff who were working all the time in hugely pressurized circumstances. What were they having? Little gatherings for people's birthdays, getting pissed? No, they were not. They were overwhelmed because the Tories have deprived them of resources, underpaid them, imposed on nurses real terms pay cuts even after the pandemic, and then locked down too slowly and all the rest of it. So they were overwhelmed. They weren't partying, but the people in number 10 were, because they didn't think the rules apply to them, because they're powerful people, you see. Powerful people. They don't have rules. The rules exist for everybody else apart from the powerful.